We got what the fudge. So bring it home. Say what? Bring it home. Say what? You got questions. We got the answers. You wanna chit? You wanna chat? You wanna talk about this and talk about that? You're in the right place to hear the facts. Bring it home. Say what? Bring it home. Say what? The ladies are bringing the conversation. So join us on Say What across the nation. Bring it on, y'all. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on, y'all. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what?
Say what? Oh my gosh, they have left me by myself with y'all today. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Say What podcast. We are in the midst of working through technical difficulties, but God is okay. We are trying to work it through and see what we can do. Bettina's trying to show up. Hopefully she can hear us. Bettina, can you hear me? I'm not sure she can hear me. She's not hearing me well. So we're just going to try to work through what we can today. We are so happy to have you here with us on the show. Today is a beautiful Saturday. It is cold outside, but that's all right. We are grateful to be here after the Atlanta area has gone through a lot of storms and all sorts of things. We are glad to be here. So we're glad to have you with us today. And we're going to have people popping in and out from time to time, and they're going to be able to be with us on the show. But again, we are glad to have you with us. So y'all know we cannot do this without the word of God. So I am the judge, jury, and everybody today. We're going to be reading from Proverbs 21:5 in the Passion Translation. And it reads, brilliant ideas pay off and bring prosperity, but making hasty, impatient decisions will only lead to financial loss. So I'm going to read that again. Brilliant ideas pay off and bring you prosperity, but making hasty, impatient decisions will only lead to financial loss. So in the midst of this, we are talking about basically the ideas and the actions we have behind it. And sometimes we make impulsive decisions. Sometimes we don't. But this is speaking about how to be able to slow down and make the decisions you need to make, right? If we don't do that, then we're going to make hasty, impatient decisions. Impatient decisions usually lead to problems for us, usually lead to some sort of issues that come about as a result of this impatient decision. And sometimes, you got to wonder, do I need to be impatient? Do I need to just take my time? Am I worried about something? If I'm worried about something, more than likely, I'm going to jump and react, right? If I jump and react, then we're going to have a problem in the end. So anytime the Bible mentions something about being hasty, you have to think about it. What's causing me to be hasty? What's causing me to worry about what's going on? What's causing me to take more into this than what is actually going on? Because again, hasty, rushed, you think about it, that's just about reaction. That's not necessarily about thinking it through. It's just about, I'm just reacting to whatever's going on. So if I'm just reacting to what's ever going on, then that means the situation is in charge of what's going on, right? If the situation is in charge of what's going on, that means I'm going to go by what it tells me to do. This scripture is saying today that we are to slow down because brilliant ideas pay off and bring prosperity. Brilliant ideas. That's not just a pop in your head. Let's think about it. How can I be brilliant about it? Today, we're talking about how to be able to get your paper, how to do what you have to do to make sure that you are prosperous. And if you are thinking last minute, more than likely, according to this scripture, you're not going to be good. So you have to think about it. If I need to slow down, sometimes I need to pray about it. I know that's a soliloquy that people use a lot, but I need to pray about it. I need to be able to ask God, is this a right decision or is it not? Right? Just because somebody mentioned it to you doesn't necessarily mean it's a right decision. So if you think about it, God is saying, slow that down. Talk to me. Talk to me about your decisions. Talk to me about what's going on so that we can make the decisions that'll bring you into prosperity. Miss Sonia, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Looks like she's trying to come in. We're working on her coming in. But at the same time, again, you have to think about it. What am I doing here? What's going on? Do I need to think through this situation? Do I need to bring God into it? More times than not, you're going to need to bring God into it, right? So if that's the case, bring God into it. Allow him to be part of the situation so that you can do what it is you need to do. We're going to try with Sonia again. Sonia, you there?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. So if you think about it, again, making decisions. What am I doing? Especially with money. Am I making the right decisions? Today, we're going to be talking to some financial experts that'll help us understand what's going on with our money. Am I making some decisions that aren't good for me? We've got to look at that all together to be able to understand what we can. So, Miss Bettina, can you hear us? I'm not sure if she can hear us. She's still working on that. So think about it. What do we need to do to be able to make good decisions? Slow down. It's more than likely going to make us prosperous in the end, right? So that's our scripture today. Proverbs 21:5 helps us to recognize God is saying, slow down, talk to me, get some good counsel that helps you make the decisions you need to make, right? So we are welcoming Miss Dina, who is on our show today. We thank you so much for being a listener and welcome you to the show. And again, we're going to be talking throughout today about getting your paper, how to be able to do it. You will be surprised the behaviors and actions of those who are wealthy and how they make decisions. They slow down. They look at what needs to happen. They counsel with some people. They get with some people. They find out insights on different things. So we're going to be talking about that as we go on. So y'all know how we do this. We cannot go any further without talking about what's going on in the world. So we have just discovered that, not just discovered, but the other day, Miss Lisa Marie Presley passed. 54 years old. She went under cardiac arrest, was rushed to the hospital, and unfortunately passed. She is the only daughter of Elvis Presley and his wife, and looks just like him, my goodness. But again, she leaves behind children, and of course, this was sudden, so no one could expect. Miss Bettina, are you able to talk to us? Let's see if we can bring Miss Sonia in. Miss Sonia, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
We cannot hear you. Still. Not sure what's going on, but clearly we're going to work through this issue. So we're going to let Sonia work through that. But at the same time, we're talking about Lisa Marie Presley.
All right,
54 years old. She was at one time married to Michael Jackson. She was also married to another actor and a spokesperson, according to People magazine, said the paramedics responded to her home was saying that she was not breathing. When they arrived, they did CPR. They got signs of life, got her to the hospital, but unfortunately she was not able to survive. and passed. So we are definitely keeping that family in prayer. Um, President Biden. This is a conversation, and thank you, Dina. It was Nicolas Cage. That's right. That's right. Nicolas Cage, she was married to. But we will definitely keep that family in prayer. I recently read that she is going to be buried at Graceland, where her son, some years back, committed suicide and was buried at Graceland. So we definitely keep them in prayer. President Biden is in the news again for issues going on at his home. They found some classified documents at his home in a garage, a locked garage in an office. And there's been a whole lot of noise about, the fact that we needed to be doing the same thing that we're doing with the ex-president, twice impeached, who is under investigation. Now, you guys let me know what you think. I'm thinking this is not the same thing, but at the same time, it's kind of being put that way. Since he's under investigation, then President Biden ought to be, if they don't actually do that, what happens? Will it cause an uproar? Will it not? So the Department of Justice has put out a special investigator or special attorney to actually address this issue. It sounds like he's trying to appease both sides. I struggle with this from time to time because, again, it's like apples and oranges. It's not the same. With the ex-president, he was actually withholding documents. The National Archives had reached out to him. They lied and said, we don't have them, and then we do. And then they tried to get them and they ignored the subpoena and they kept it. And they actually had to make a raid on the home to get the documents back. That's way different than, what we have here with the president, where they found them in his office. You have to think about it. Working in government, high government, classified documents will come from time to time. And in this instance, they were left in there when he was vice president. He's now president. So this was some years back. Miss Sonia, are you still there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We cannot hear you.
I'm
I am sorry. We're going to let you work that out. But again, like we're talking about what's going on with this. Is the previous president was withholding the information, and then when they found the information, he was basically saying, I declassified it, and therefore it's allowed to be in my possession. Again, I don't know what's going on with that, but at the same time, it's against the law to be able to have that information taken from the National Archives. So I'm not really sure about what's going on, but they have started an investigation. They do have special counsel who is attached to this. And sometimes that's a good thing. They're going to investigate, see what's going on, find out what they're saying about the documents being there. I'm not really sure, but again, they're trying to make it all one thing. Well, since you did this with this president, you got to do this with that one. That's not accurate. Presidents are allowed to take certain information. President Obama had information, but he had permission to have it. Big difference than taking stuff and then just saying, I'm going to change the rules and decide that I can declassify, which presidents have the right to do. But taking those documents is not appropriate.
Which presidents have the right to do. Taking those documents is
again,
not appropriate.
It's just an issue that's going to have to be investigated. It sounds like some people, Sonia, can hear you, but I cannot at all.
It's just an issue.
Can you say something?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear Bettina.
Yeah, they can hear you. I cannot. I can't hear you. Not sure what that is. We'll try to work it out. Let's see what we can do.
We'll try to work it out.
So again, we're kind of looking at what's going on at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and how they're looking at, the documents and what to do with them.
They're looking at,
but again, that's in the news, and we will see what happens with that. The interesting part of that, to add to that, is nothing has moved forward yet with the ex-president. So I'm a little surprised, that everybody wants to talk about President Biden, and this is kind of just sitting there. So we'll see how that comes out. But other things that are in the news is good news.
that comes
Damar
out.
Hamlin
But
from the Buffalo Bills has been discharged from the hospital. He was transferred from Cincinnati Hospital to the Buffalo Hospital, and I understand he is being discharged. On Twitter, they are now reporting that he may even be at the stadium. So that's interesting. We'll see if that comes about. But that is such an amazing thing that has occurred, which is God, healing him, helping him to get past this issue. He collapsed on the cardiac arrest, and it took 10 minutes for them to revive him. So again, just to be able to see this young man come out of the hospital, I'm not sure if he's walking, but they have reported that he is being discharged. So we're happy to see that. So anybody play the lottery? They said that there is a winner in the lottery, $1.35 billion. That's not million, people. That's $billion. And again, one winner in the state of Maine. I wonder, is that state that they actually have to report that they won? Not sure. Certain states require you to release your identity. Other states do not. So I'm a little confused as to whether the state of Maine, but I was expecting, with it being that large of a jackpot, that there would be multiple winners. And to hear that there's just one in this small town in Maine, the owner of the store is excited because, of course, the store that sells the ticket gets some money as well. And is just excited, and of course has all the attention that's brought to them. So that's interesting. But 1.35 billion, you have to think about it. What would you do with that? Well, first of all, let's just remember, you don't get to have the entire 1.35. Part of that goes to taxes. I want to say close to about half. So you're talking about 600 million that would come to you, and what you would do. They were interviewing people on the news, asking them, what would you do with this amount of money? People are saying, well, I would retire. And I think I heard someone say, well, what would you do if you retire? What are you going to do with that? And the person said, I don't know. Well, maybe I need to still be working. But there are a number of things that we can do. You can start a nonprofit. You can help charities that are going on. But the biggest thing that people struggle to remember when you win that much money is you think that it will never run out. That is the fallacy that most people believe. It'll be here forever. That much money, I'll have enough money to last me until. No. What happens with people who are wealthy is they find ways to keep money coming in. Okay. So that's really important to think about when you start talking about, lots of money. You're going to have family you're going to want to do things for. You're going to have expenses you're going to want to have to address. And that money just doesn't stay. Okay. A lot of people think we get taxed one time and that's it. No, that is now part of your income, which means you get taxed at a higher bracket than what you were getting taxed before. So there are a lot of things to think about. Most people don't think that through when it comes to just trying to win the lottery. But those things are important. And again, back to the scripture we were talking about, slow down. Don't be hasty. Don't run. Don't run into thinking, okay, I'm just going to take a bath and all this money and it'll just be great. No, you have to remember, okay, if I got this money, I got to keep money coming in, right? You can't have expenses that are higher than this money. Right? If you're overly spending, again, the government is looking at you because they're going to get their shot as well. They get it initially, and then they're going to come after you every year. Even if you decide to leave it to family, there is an estate tax. There are things that happen. So I'm happy for the person who won. But, thinking about that much money and what to do with it when you haven't had it before. I believe on Oprah and some of the other talk shows years ago, when it was people winning 5 million, 10 million, they would talk to them in 5 years and they had lost their income. It was gone. So you have to think about, what is it going to take to be able to keep that money, right? How am I going to keep that money coming in? What am I going to do? What am I going to invest in? Do I even know how to invest? right? Those are the things you have to start thinking about. What are we going to do to keep this income or even live at this standard, right? Some other people say, I'm not going to tell family. Well, you're going to be in a cave because somebody going to find out that you got this nice car. And they're going to be like, where'd you get it from? Because we know where you work at. And then if you quit, dear Lord, they really going to know. Right. So people are going to know about what's going on. But at the same time, you got to think about what's going on. So here we are. We've got a comment, take care of your family, help those with their hopes and dreams, invest, buy stocks. So that's what we're starting to talk about today. Invest. What to invest in? If you think about it, a lot of not celebrities, but athletes all of a sudden go from not having anything to having a lot, right? And I've seen documentaries of ball players, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever. They get interviewed years later and they're broke. The money is gone. And we get very picky and say, well, he should have done, he should have. A lot of us honestly don't know. And the way I see it is, in our communities, we haven't really had a lot of conversation about money. We haven't had a conversation about what to do with it, where to go with it. We were just talking scripture earlier. God is saying, get some counsel, slow down. And if you haven't had that, you don't know what to do first. You would be surprised how many people will come up to you with ideas. Well, you need to invest in this barbershop. Or you need to invest in this club, or whatever. And it may not be a good idea. But because you don't know, and we're thinking hastily, like the Bible was just saying, we go invest and then we lose that money. Okay. So we want to start talking about, how to be able to do this, what that we need to do to start thinking about. What would I do with money? Just make it to the end of this year. How do I come out in the black, which is positive, and not in the red around Christmas? That's an equation in itself. Because we're out buying stuff trying to do, right? And now you got all these credit card bills and they carry into the following year. That's being in the red. Okay. So how do we do that? What do we have to do to make that make some sense? So we have some financial advisors that are going to be in our conversation today, and we want to bring them in. Hopefully they can hear us, dear Lord. Hopefully they can hear us. So Miss Jennifer, hey, how you doing?
Hello, Talisa. Happy New Year. Can you hear me?
I cannot hear you.
Oh, gosh. I hear you perfectly.
Hear you. I don't know what is happening here today. Wow.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I cannot hear you.
No.
Maybe it's me. That's the problem. I don't know what's going on. But we're going to try this again. I'm going to bring you in and take you back out and put you back in and see what happens. So as you can see today, we are having major, major problems. Don't know what's going on. Sounds like some people can hear them and I cannot hear them. So I don't know what's going on. Let's see if we can get Miss Sonia, see what happens. Miss Sonia, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
No, I cannot hear you.
Me?
I cannot hear you. Did you hear Jennifer just a second ago?
I heard Jennifer just fine. I could hear Bettina. So, and I can hear you. I can hear you.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. So I'm not sure what's going on. It might be my side. I don't know. And we're trying to work this through. Let's try again. Let's see. Miss Jennifer?
Hi, Talisa. Can you hear me?
I cannot
No.
hear you. I don't know what's going on today, people. I promise you I don't know. Jennifer
excited.
can hear me. She said, I can hear you. She can even hear Sonia. So the only person who cannot hear other people is me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, that's very good. At least we got that done. I'm not quite sure how to do this because it's not working. So I don't know. Let me see. Jennifer, can you do me a favor and can you try to call me? I think you still have my number, and we can try that way. I don't know. I may have to repeat what you're saying, but at least we can try. Okay, it looks like she's calling me. Let's see. Miss Jennifer, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Can you hear yourself?
Let me see. Can I hear myself?
You're on. Okay, you're on mute though. It says you're on mute. Maybe that was the problem. I don't know.
No. I just muted myself so there wouldn't be an echo with the phone.
Okay. All right. So we just
going.
going.
Want us to go this way?
I guess we're gonna have to. We're working on a wing and a prayer at this point because I don't know.
Listen, old school never fails.
I'm ready to send a pigeon with a message because I'm just disgusted. I'm just like I don't know what's going on. So
Okay.
So anyway. We can do this. We can do this. I'll just have to repeat what you say so that, we make sure everybody can hear. So we were talking about, the winner of the lottery and what happens when you win that much money. The fallacy is, or the idea or the myth that people have is this money will be here forever. I will never lose it. I will always have more than enough. Is that something that you see when people come into lots of money?
Absolutely. And I would say that our first thing is always that we've got to create a plan because we can't just wing it. We can't just go on a wing and a prayer. We got to make sure that we have a plan for what we're going to do. What are our goals? Who are we trying to make sure we can get through school? Let's fully fund our emergency fund. Let's fully fund our retirement. Let's make sure that we can allocate these pots of money in a way that will make sure that we create a long-lasting legacy before we blow it all. And so I think what happens is with lottery winners, with gaming winners, you see that there is no plan. It's we operate by emotion, or we operate from a position of lack, because sometimes we're in a position of lack, and just go spend. And then we wake up one day and say, oh my God, what happened? Where did it all go?
Absolutely.
Number one, creating a plan.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say we need to create a plan. Most times people going into something don't have a plan, right? I hear conversations when the lottery gets really big. Well, in my opinion, it's big regardless. When it be at 500 million, when it be at 400, I mean, we've never seen that. So to me, that's massive. But again, the plan is buy the ticket. That's it. I never hear anything past that. I never hear anything about after that. That's why I said I thought being that large, there would be multiple winners. But hearing that there's just one, so there's no plan. And from the interviews they do with people who talk about winning, they say, well, I'll just quit my job. Okay, well, if you quit your job, now you're having no income come in and you're not getting all of that money, which means it's going to start going down. Is that right to look at it that way?
That is right. That is right. Look, who you surround yourself with becomes very, very important, right? And so when it's that much money, and we can even scale it down to something a little bit more realistic, but when it's that much, when it's more money than we're used to having, we've got to have people that we trust, that we can seek counsel from, right? So that we can make sure that, hey, maybe God hasn't equipped us with everything we know how to do with the money, but let's go talk to some people who maybe are equipped that can help us make sure that this money lasts. That yes, we can change our lives, but let's make sure that we not just change our lives, but it continues through the rest of our lives and maybe impacts a couple generations as well, right? But again, that starts with making sure that we get out of ourselves and go look for some people that can help us with that, so we can help create a plan and structure the money in ways for it to last.
Absolutely. I think that's great. You bring up a good point about, maybe we can affect a few generations. We're seeing, comments about we need to do research on whatever we choose to do. And let's just be real. Let's be real practical, Jennifer, okay? In everyday life, most people are concerned about getting back and forth to work, bills being paid, food on the table, their kids, and that's it, right? So, Jennifer, you and I are old enough to remember the commercials about having insurance for the baby, the Gerber baby. Remember the Gerber baby? And the Gerber baby, the focus was we can put this money up, or we can have this money go towards the child's college, right?
Yes.
Now, most
Yes.
of us practically are not thinking about paying for college until the child is 15, right? And then all of a sudden, then it's now this is the focus. We don't have the money. We have to have loans, blah, blah, blah. So if we're being practical, how challenging is it for you in your line of work to help people see forward generations versus just where they are?
You know, it usually is about education, right? So most of the times we haven't thought through, you know, what we how we need to structure our money, right? In the same way we need to plan for college really at the time that our kids are born. We need to do the same thing with our retirement savings, right? We need to do the same thing with our emergency savings, our rainy day fund, right? Because if we wait until we need it, then the number is much bigger, right? Than usually we can come up with. But if we start doing it before we need it, before we need to go to college, before we retire, before that emergency happens, then we are positioned for it, because we can start putting some away as we get money coming in, and that makes it easier to digest, right? So that we aren't having a heart attack when that emergency happens, or when that child turns 17, is about to graduate from high school, and you realize that, oh my God, I didn't do what I needed to do, right? If you start early, you save less, right? The amount you need to save doesn't have to be as much. It doesn't take up as much of a percentage of your paycheck.
Okay, so I see that. So we need to start early, right? So we talking at the Similac stage. At the Similac stage, with the diaper stage, we're thinking, what do we need to do going forward? So what would you say to those who are past that point and still want to be able to improve their financial, ideas and thoughts and plans? What would you say to them?
So look, I would say, I have a couple of things really that I'm talking to everyone, all of our clients this year for 2023, because look, if 2023 is anything like 2022 was, there was a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace. The economy is kind of out of whack. Inflation, the cost of eggs are ridiculous, and so if we think about it, they're saying we're walking into a recession, right? So I'm claiming this is the year to keep sowing your seeds, right? We may not be ready to reap yet, but this is the year to keep sowing, okay? Especially when things are unknown, right? So what does that mean? So what am I talking about? Number one, I'm telling everybody it's time to create a plan. Let's focus in on what's important to you. If you have a child and you want them to go to college and you want to pay a portion of that, let's plan for that, okay? Whatever age that child is. If you're planning on retiring at any point, let's plan for that. Let's see what it actually is going to take, right? So let's also create a budget. I know we resist. One of the big things, Talisa, amongst my girlfriends, that we all are talking about self-care, right? That's really, really important. And I challenge everyone and I say, hey, listen, self-care is also budgeting, right? It's also doing the things that are going to help us, sometimes immediately, but sometimes later, is creating a budget, is looking at ways to cut your spending, right? We don't know how this year is going to turn out, but how can we cut our spending? Let me give you a little secret. There's something that we've all adapted to right now, and that's all these subscriptions, right? Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV, even on this phone.
Amazon, yeah.
Amazon. We have all these subscriptions, even all the apps that we download. Some of them cost money that we're paying monthly. Go look at those little things add up into your budget. So one little thing to do is look at your subscriptions and cut some of those out. Have this year at least 3 no-spend months. What do I mean by that? That means that outside of what you need for food and your basic essentials, toilet paper, washing powder, right, laundry detergent, outside of the...
Please keep clean. Please keep clean, people. Yeah.
Yes. It's have months where you don't spend any money on any outside things. No clothing, no shoes. That is a way. So 3 no-spend months, right? and then look at increasing where you can. One of the things that I talk to people about all the time is many people say, oh, I have a 401k on my job. That's great. But if you're not actively increasing what you contribute to your workplace plan, you're missing out, because the government and your employer is telling you, hey, there are no pensions. If you're lucky to have a pension, that's great. But most jobs don't have a pension, and they're counting on you making sure you increase how much you're contributing to your own retirement plan, because there's no scholarships for retirement, okay? So this year, the total that you can save in your work retirement and your 401k went up. You can max out at $22,500. All of us can do that. If you're over 50, you can do an additional amount, which is $7,500. That's a total of $30,000 that you can contribute to your own 401k. Most people are not maxing out their 401ks. In your IRA, if you are maxing it out, they've also increased that for this year. It's $6,500 for the year that you can now save. That's $542 a month. And then if you're over 50, it's $7,500, which is $625. It's those little things, cutting the little things that you're not going to miss, having some no spend months, right? Where you really are saying, okay, I'm going to be serious about this because I don't know how ugly it's going to get. I don't know if I'm going to get laid off, right? And then look, I have a suggestion on a book to read. It's called Get Good with Money by Tiffany the Budgetnista. We've all heard of her. She's all over the place. She talks about how to get good with money. For most of us, we got to reprogram ourselves, right? Because we've been programmed a lot of times to think the way we were raised, right?
Absolutely.
And so let's reprogram our brains. And then this is the last thing I'll leave you with is that, look, one of the things we don't think about, but in making sure that we are taking care of all the things, is we got to do some estate planning. If you don't have a will, even if you don't think you need a will, get your will together, okay? Georgia's one of those states that's a probate state. The state will dictate who gets what, even your children, right? So make sure you have a will. Make sure you have a healthcare directive so that, hey, if the doctors need to know you need to stay alive, you make sure you have that in writing, okay? They know Jennifer said keep her alive, okay? No matter what. And then any power of attorneys, okay? So listen, this is the year to keep sowing. We may not reap this year, but I promise you when we get out of a recession, man, things will just burst. Okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you have money to invest, it's also a great time to invest because the markets are low, which means you're supposed to buy low and sell high. So again, this is also a really good time to be investing.
So right now, Jennifer, we're going to be girlfriends. You said what's your girlfriends and y'all get in the group or whatever. So I'm the counselor, you the financial counselor. We just going to have this conversation. So you mentioned a lot, planning things out, having 3 no spend months, taking some of those subscriptions that we have, take them away because we don't necessarily need them, right? Now, as the counselor, right, who works with people, they freak out over large things that you tell them to do, Jennifer. Okay, so you got to give it to them in pieces, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's start with the subscriptions. People are used to having subscriptions now, right? We even have commercials that come on TV that say we will have apps that will cancel stuff for you because you forgot you had it, right? I brought up Amazon, right? A lot of people have Amazon. I'm one of them who does not, okay? One, because, let's just talk delivery. Because again, I'm trying to be practical where people are.
Sure.
People have Amazon because I can get it delivered next day, same day, this, that, and the third. In my opinion, if it doesn't make sense to me, then I'm not doing it, right? So when I order from Amazon, which I do, right, from time to time, I'll notice, let's say today is Saturday, it'll say it'll be here on Tuesday. I'll get an email on Sunday saying, oh, it's going to be early and it might get there on Monday. Now, I didn't pay you for that. You just told me it's coming early, right? In my opinion, this is just my opinion. It's Talisa's opinion, okay? This is not the gospel. This is Talisa's opinion. So in my opinion, if you're going to send it to me early, then what was the point of me paying you this subscription when I'm going to get it early, right? Now, I'm not putting anybody else down, no judgment, whatever, but this is my way of thinking it through, right? If it doesn't make sense to me, it's not going to happen. And what I noticed with subscriptions is people just automatically sign up for things without thinking it through. So Jennifer, I'm not sure if you were paying attention when we were earlier on the show. Sonia brought the scripture. She gave it to me to deliver today. But the proverb is things that are done in haste usually cause a problem. So what would you say to people who are afraid to let go of those subscriptions and really just kind of pare it down a little bit?
Yeah. Look, to be honest with you, Talisa, I feel differently about Amazon.
Mhm.
I think it makes things a lot easier for me.
Right.
But I will say this is that I was going through our subscription. So what I'm telling everyone to do is something that I just did at the beginning of the year. When we sat down. And so what I started noticing is that I went through my iPhone subscriptions, right? And those are easy because you don't even think about those, right? You just add an app and it's easy. It's $2.99 a month. Well, I was doing the same thing for my kids. And I noticed my son, who is a junior in college right now, he has $77 a month being charged to my credit card just automatically of things he's added on his. We have family sharing. And so when I asked him about it, I realized he had a workout thing, he had a diet thing, he had a thing for school, for some books. 3 of those he wasn't even using anymore. So this is like low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
I tell you all to go through your Apple, your App Store subscription and go, because you may be paying for stuff for your kids that you're not even aware of. That was $77 a month. Listen, I need all the money I can get. Okay?
Exactly.
There are things that are low-hanging fruit that without you getting totally out of your comfort zone, you can get rid of stuff and put more money back in your pocket. Start with the little things like the subscriptions, because those are things that sometimes we say, hey, you may have subscribed to a show or that you needed a platform to watch, just one show, and you're no longer watching that show because you went and streamed it all right in a day, but you're still paying monthly for it. Those are just the easy wins that are not going to totally change your life, that you don't have to go and pray, get on your knees and say, oh Lord, but I really, really need this, right? Those are the easy ones.
Absolutely. And that's why we're trying to pare it down so it makes sense. Okay. Because a lot of people say, just go cancel, and you start getting anxiety over canceling things.
Yeah.
But I like what you said. Things were being charged that he's not even using.
Yes.
And I can get rid of that. That's something I can do. Let's make it something I can do. So we do have a comment, and basically we're hearing people who are not of color already prepared their children. But that doesn't matter. Create a plan where we are now, put God first and ask him to direct us daily. And I dare you to watch what he'll do. I agree with that statement. I like the first part about it, where people who are not of color are prepared. Jennifer, you see different things that happen generationally. Would you agree with that, or what would you say to that?
I would say, look, by and large, we work in our financial practice mostly with people of color, and that by and large is the truth, and that I'm not going to go into history of why that is the truth, but the truth, right? But look, I believe you can start late and you can still finish where you need to finish. Okay. And so this is the deal though. We have to, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's like turning the Titanic, right? Is that you start the process to turn it around, and then it turns around over time. We've got to put a plan in place. If your desire is to go ahead and retire and enjoy the rest of your life, let's put a plan in place. Let's see what that number is. Let's see how many years we have to achieve that, and let's see what we can do to actually get there. I may say, hey, you got to get a side hustle going. We need up for some lost time. Let's figure out what your passions are so we can see where else we can make some money to make sure that you can retire and have a great quality of life, right? Or it may be the same thing, getting a side hustle to make sure we can send your child to college, right? And maybe we're not paying 100%, and that's okay, because you know what? There's scholarships out there, okay? But we begin to right the ship by, number one, being aware that we're not in the place we need to be. That's the first thing. Number two is actively seeking the information to get to that right place. And then it may be, we got to cut some spending here. We got to reallocate it over here to savings. And maybe we got to pick up a side hustle, or maybe we need to go in and ask for a promotion, a promotion that we've been delayed on at work, right? Whatever it is, we need to have a plan. Again, it goes back to having a plan, right? Not winging. We cannot wing our financial lives and think we're going to get out of it successful by just being, oblivious to everything.
And I agree with that, because I think that's what people do, is they just turn it off. It's just too much for me to digest. Let me just turn this off. But I like how you said, because again, on this show, we're being practical. We're trying to help you look at the steps it needs. But again, we have to start with the plan. And I agree. It's never too late. We can address, we might need a side hustle. We get side hustles to go get some boots. Okay.
Right.
We get side hustles to travel. We can get side. Absolutely. We can do. So these are small things we can do. So now let's talk about stocks. Usually when it comes to stocks and investing, we get nervous. And I'm just going to be honest with me, and just to let people know, I'm a client of Jennifer. So when we first started talking, I was like, Jennifer, I promise you, I don't know. But again, we're being practical. When we think about investing, most times when you have not been exposed to that, you think you're going to lose your shirt. So how do you help people recognize, or understand stocks? Let's just start there. And how to kind of start, sticking a toe in a little bit.
Sure. So I would say that where we usually start is people dipping their little pinky toe in mutual funds. Mutual funds, they can own stocks, they can own bonds, they can own both stocks and bonds, but it is a way for us to dip our toe and have a ton of diversification if you haven't flexed that investing muscle yet, okay? And so this is what I like about mutual funds. So Talisa, say you have two elevators. You're walking into one of the elevators and you notice one of the elevators is being held up by one cable. The other elevator is being held up by 50 cables. Which elevator do you walk into?
The one with 50.
The one with 50. Why?
Because it's got more support in it. It won't drop it.
That's right. So a mutual fund is like the elevator. Mutual funds on average have about 50 to 75 different stocks inside of it, okay? And so what happens is you have instant diversification, so that if that elevator drops and you only have the one cable or the one stock, then you feel that impact of that drop right away, okay? But if you have that mutual fund that has 50 stocks holding it up, if that Apple stock drops, okay, well, you got 49 other stocks in there. They're not all going to be down at the same time. So if you're wanting to dip your toe into the investment and flex that muscle a little bit, let's start off with mutual funds, right? But maybe you've already done some mutual funds. So then we're going to take a look at, hey, what are some stocks that have done well, even during times of recessions? And so last year, what we saw, the types of stocks that did well were energy stocks. So anything gas and oil related did amazing, okay? And so gas was out of control. I think this year gas is going to be in control, so we're going to see that dip. And then consumer staples, so things like, where do we spend money even when things are tight, right? So things like not sexy at all, but like toilet paper and cereal and, laundry detergent. So companies like that manufacture that kinds of stuff that we need to buy no matter what, they did well, okay, last year. And so, but what we see, look, it doesn't matter really, because what I'll say is everything is down even from where they were in 2021. If you believe in technology, and I believe in technology, I believe technology is here to stay. It's going to intersect in everything that we do. It already does. Technology stocks are all down. That tells me, though, there's a buying opportunity in technology, right? Because some of those tech stocks are 50% off, okay? That means you can be an owner of some stocks. So it really is, I try to say, hey, look, what are things you already buy in your life now? And let's start there. If you want to look at stock, let's buy stocks. Okay, you're into Nike shoes. Let's look at Nike as a company. Why don't we become a shareholder of Nike, right? You buy Tide detergent. Let's look at, General Mills. Let's look at, all the things that you use in your household, and let's just start there.
Absolutely. I like that because, again, you're talking about something that's common to people. They understand. You're not talking about something way out there like gold, buying gold because you see the commercials or whatever. But what I'm also hearing is that this gives you a chance to educate about how to be able to purchase stocks.
That's
what
right.
you have to do, what people go after. I know for me, you start watching stations that have the ticker going at the bottom of the screen, and you're trying to pay attention to it, and you're like, okay, I'm understanding, I'm trying to understand it, and I'm quite sure you hear things like, okay, let's buy this, because you saw it on the TV. But I love the idea of making it more personable, like gas. Everybody uses gas, natural gas, and they can kind of go from there. But it makes you also begin to start paying attention to what's important, what's selling well, what's not selling well. Because to your point, during the height of COVID, those pharmaceutical companies, oh my gosh, they went through the roof. So people were, kind of doing. But then when things started going down, then they lost money, and people are thinking that's going to be here forever, and it's not.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
yeah,
the other thing I would say is also have a plan for why you want to invest, right? Because, is your plan just going to be, I want to make some short-term money and get out? Or am I doing this for the long term? And so what you invest in also can look different based on what your goals are also. If your goal is just to learn, then let's have the mind frame that, okay, whether whether it makes money or not, I'm in it to learn. So it's a learning opportunity. So it also depends what your goals are.
Absolutely. Do you ever talk, because of course a lot of conversation now with the housing market flipping, people were clamoring away at one house and be having 60 people out there trying to buy the house and whatever.
Yes.
And now you see it cool.
Yes.
Do you recommend to people about investing in property as well?
Yeah, so real estate is really, really interesting, right? It was really, really hot because interest rates were so low, but it was also really, really hot because there's a short of housing.
Yeah.
Just okay. Part of that has to do with the fact that about 20 years ago, we started telling people that everyone had to go to college and didn't have to go to trade school. So those crafts people that we have, bricklayers and carpenters, we have a huge shortage of people that can build houses and do this kind of work, okay, which has caused a huge housing shortage, which is why you saw with the low interest rate, people had a lot of cash for some reason, and there was a bunch of people interested in one house and they could pay cash for it. So today you've seen a little bit of a cooling off on that, where you're not seeing as many people interested, but surprisingly, houses are still moving even at higher interest rates because there is still a housing shortage. Now, I think real estate will cool off a little bit more. We're starting to see that interest rates are starting to stabilize a little bit because, just the market inflation is stabilizing a little bit. It hasn't come down, but it is stabilizing. And so I think what you'll start to see is you won't see like we saw in 2008 where house prices just completely pummeled.
Right.
Won't see that at all. I think they'll be stable, but you will see some opportunities coming, because I think a lot of sellers also, raise those prices because they knew that there were so many buyers, right? So I don't think you're going to see that anymore. So you'll see the prices come down some, but they're really going to be stable because we are still, as a country, in a huge housing shortage.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And a lot of people are holding off with selling right now. And I'm quite sure, Jennifer, you had calls. I've been getting called. They text you, they send a pigeon, they do whatever. Are you selling? Are you selling? I was like, if they don't quit bothering me, right. I'm like, what is wrong with these people? Whatever. But again, some people are interested in that. Now there is in our community, That is old school, to buy a house, buy a couple of houses, rent them out. That is there. But again, education is always good to be able to help people recognize, okay, what should I get into? What should I not get into? Take the time, get the counsel they need. So this has been such a great conversation, and I'm so sorry that we've had technical difficulties. So Jennifer, we definitely going to have you back, because those that missed out will be able to get that information. But what would you say to them, finally going forward, just overall about the plan, not to be nervous about it, scared about it? What would be your encouragement to them?
I would go back and I would reiterate that 2023 is the year to keep sowing, right? No matter what happens this year, take advantage of the opportunities that you're confronted with. And then also that self-care doesn't just look like massages and good dinners and spa treatments and facials. It also looks like taking care and handling my financial business. And that may be, I need to go ahead and budget. I need to create this financial plan. I need to go talk to someone because I can't do it on my own and I need some help. And it looks like I need to increase my savings, right? So self-care, all of that still takes care of the self. And so even though it looks different than the language we talk about, it all is going to make you better and more well off in the end.
Absolutely. I love the reframing of self-care, because the first thing people think of is hair and nails and doing whatever. But now we're switching that around so that it's something that benefits us. So how can people get in touch with you, Jennifer?
So I can be reached at do you want my email?
Yeah, just tell me your email, and then we'll put it on our page so that people can get it.
I can be reached at jmcreynolds at the alzgroup.com, jmcreynolds at the L like Larry, Z like zebra, group.com, and my phone number is 678-698-9400. And listen, if you did win the lottery, I can help you structure that too, okay? We want to make sure it lasts for generations, not just you. We're supposed to impact multiple generations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, to the point of the scripture earlier, it keeps coming back. You want to be slow with how you do things. Get some guidance. Understand what's going on. Let's not jump out. We all know, especially if you're young enough, the first thing you're going to buy is your mama house. You're going to buy you a house and you're going to buy your mama house, okay? But then you're going to buy a car and you're going to do this. And we want to be able to make it so this can last generations, because something like that can impact your family line. And they can actually start off in the black versus starting off in the red. And I mean, student loans and all of that. If we have the income to do that, then we get a chance to get our feet moving forward. So I so appreciate you, Jennifer, for even being with me on this call in the midst of all this technology issues. We were almost at pigeons at this point, trying to figure out what to do, how to get the messages through. But I think we made it. So we actually did. So we're going to have you back pretty soon, just to be able to make sure the technology works and people are able to get the information. But I also thank our listeners for being part of the show. Hopefully you guys can hear the show. If not, we're going to replay it and try to do what we can to make sure that we get all this valuable information. We are going to list the McReynolds information on our site so that you can get it. And as a client, they are wonderful. So I want to make sure you guys reach out to them. And we will see you back in 2 weeks on the Say What podcast. We'll see you later. Take care.
Get ready for Sonia, Teresa, Vanessa, Bettina, come on. Say what? Come on. Say what? We got bam, hot topics. We got what the fudge. So bring it home. Say what? Bring it home. Say what? We got questions. We got the answers. You wanna chit? You wanna chat? You wanna talk about this and talk about that? Yeah.